Blog Talk Radio.
Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's the new experience. Reality, spirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one, man. Spirituality. You got a question for RLN? Reality, spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Spirituality. Oh, now we get real.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Reality Spirituality Radio. I'm your host, Rebecca Lynn Norrington, and I just want to give a thank you. I'm so grateful to have all of you here. My listeners, we have listeners from all over the world, and this show is growing by the thousands every month, I would say. So thank you so much. Thank you for your emails. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your questions. Reality Spirituality has been on for little over 3 years, and what this show is and what this show is about is happiness. Now, if you've listened, you know that this happiness that I'm talking about is an internal contentment, an internal knowing, a foundation of your intention, your agenda, your priority is happiness. And what does that even look like? What does that even mean? Well, since I am a self-proclaimed happiness specialist, for me, that means that throughout my day, every moment, I am prioritizing happiness. I had an interesting day yesterday. I was with a friend of mine from junior high. For 30 years we've known each other. And all relationships are a direct reflection of us, of where the relationship, whatever it is, whether it's sister, whether it's friend, whether it's parent, whether it's child, husband, wife, partner, coworker, it's always a reflection, and it's meant to be for me to learn. What do I learn from each encounter? What am I learning? I'm learning about how to become happier, how to keep peace in the relationship, how to set my personal vibration of allowing without resistance, trusting and surrendering. So this show is really about how to experience more happiness on our journey. You know, my favorite quote from Abraham is, "You cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey." And this life is about the journey. For me, it's not about the next achievement. It's not about the next goal. It's about the individual, each moment-by-moment experience. And today I'm happy to welcome Michael Eastwood on the show, which he's a fascinating young man, and he's going to be talking about crystals and their healing qualities. But before I go and introduce him, and I would like to let my listeners know where they can reach me. I'm at RebeccaNorrington.com. That's RebeccaNorrington.com. You can follow me on Twitter at RL Norrington, Facebook, Reality Spirituality, and I really welcome you to the show. Also, I would like you to feel free to call in and ask Michael questions. The number here to talk to us live is area code 646-564-9619. Area code 646-564-9619. And my latest book, Reality Spirituality, The Truth About Happiness, can be found on Amazon. So as we move through one evolutionary cycle to another, my renowned guest and crystal expert, Michael Eastwood, explains the birth of the new crystalline oversouls and their importance to each one of us and our world. Michael is the author of Crystal Oversoul Attunements as well as Unfolding Our Light, and he's been published all around the world. Thank you so much, Michael is in England right now, or in London. He's in an island. Hold on a second. Let me just bring him on live. Where are you again, Michael? Welcome to the show.
Hello, Rebecca. Thank you very much. I am currently sitting on the Isle of Wight, which is off the coast of England.
And isn't it amazing, this technology? I don't know about how old you are, but I didn't have all of this technology when I was younger, and it's just amazing to connect to like energy from around the world. And I really, really appreciate you being on the show. What time is it there in the island off of England?
On the island of England, it is about 3:00 in the afternoon. And I agree completely with technology. It's a wonderful.
Yeah, it's so great. Now, before we get into your topic, healing with crystals, and and your 2 books, can you give me a little bit about, in the beginning, Michael Eastwood, fill in the blank?
How far back do you want me to go?
Well,
in the beginning of how I came to this work.
Well, you can start with that, and then a little bit of background of how you got on this path, and a little bit of in the beginning, and some of your challenges, and some of your direction, and some of the the journey. Give us a little bit of background. We want to know who you are, Michael.
Okay. Well, from a child, I had a very strong sense of feeling very different. I mean, of course, lots of children do. But I had these, what I later referred to as beings, often around my bed when I was a child. And they talked to me, and it was absolutely normal to me that I could see and hear light and colours, and I wouldn't say disincarnate people or anything like that, but the spheres and colours, and I could see things that I was quite aware that other people couldn't see them, or they weren't part of their reality. So it gave me a very strong feeling as a child of being quite different, and somehow had an innate understanding to keep quiet about it, and so that unfolded in my life. And I used to spend my pocket money as a child on Erich von Däniken books and books about ancient astronauts creating our world and building enormous pyramids and things. And so I didn't spend my money on sweets as other children. I spent it on books about Atlantis and pyramids and... Oh, excuse me, 1 minute.
Okay. This is live radio, everyone. I love it. I love it. Reality Spirituality. Listen, I love it. You're human.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my phone rings. I'm talking about Atlantis and pyramids. So this went on as I grew up, and of course as a teenager, I did all the things that other teenagers do. And it wasn't until I was around about 16 where I was watching a program where seals were being clubbed and slaughtered, and there was just something stirred with me, something quite forceful, and quite this strong sense of I wanted to do something, and I couldn't just sit there watching things that really upset me. I had no idea what to do, but still something. It was a very strong awakening, and at that age I got then very involved in politics. At 16, which is quite an early age to be involved in politics. But I had a very strong sense that I was here for something and I needed to do something about it, and it wouldn't happen without me. So
wow. I love the fact that you said that you were different and you were aware that you didn't want to share that. Did you share that with your parents?
No, not till later on. No, not at all. I didn't share it with anyone because I had a very strong sense to somehow to guard it, that I knew on one hand there was nothing wrong with it, but I knew the environment I was in didn't understand it. I knew enough about the conversations that were taking place around me because I came from a very non-religious family, which I'm very grateful for as well, because I had no indoctrination whatsoever, and completely like a blank screen in that sense. So I was odd even for the fact that I was very drawn to sort of ancient cultures and spirituality. So to begin with, I got very involved in green politics, what we now know as environmental politics. But at that particular stage, it was all very new, and there was just this great awakening taking place that something, if we didn't hurry, something quite drastic was about to happen. And then, in a series of events, I got involved in politics, and by the age of 18, I was already disillusioned by politics, because it just wasn't happening the way, that sense of speed that I think only young people have, really, which is that sense of I want it all to happen now, the political process was very discouraging, because it didn't happen now, and it didn't happen the way I imagined it. And slowly I got drawn into more meditational, more crystal practices, and moved away from sort of politics in that sense, and was drawn more to what I would now call inner politics. But right at that time was, of course I didn't know this, but it was right around the time of the harmonic convergence with Jose Arguelles, and this huge build-up that was occurring in 1989, coming from California, and being driven by people like Shirley MacLaine and other people of this great spiritual revival that was taking place. And I was sort of swept along with that, really. I really, in hindsight now, I look back and I think, gosh, I really came in at the right time with that wave right behind me, and felt then, this is what I'm part of, this wave of change coming from within, rather than sort of demonstrating on streets and fighting for the political system. Actually, fighting for our happiness, really. Right.
What's so interesting? You said inner politics. I love that term, inner politics. I'm going to use that, because that's really what it is. And you also said something that I've come to realize, because I had causes too. I had causes of children's rights, women's rights, cultural, race issues, all of that, and I've come to realize that that way or that idea of trying to change the world, trying to change the world with demonstrations and or causes, is not the way to go. It's really the change from within, and when you change from within, let me just speak for me. When I change from within, I am changing the world. I can change the world without leaving home.
I agree with that, and I also would like to add to that I feel that there are times when there is cause for people to go onto the streets to if you look at the various sort of uprising and shifts we've had in the last few years. These enormous amounts of people turning out and overthrowing governments. One could argue that nothing essentially has changed for lots of these places. But this, I think essentially it needs to be coming from a place within, and there also has to be a space for people to feel, yes, I still need to go out and demonstrate, and let my body and my voice be a part of the demonstration. I don't do that myself, but I can see that there's a space for that as well. And my point is the people that. Anyway, I just have to speak. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And another is this is just a very individual. What I can control is me and my behavior and my actions and my energy and what am I sending out into the world. And so whatever I can control, that's what I'm going to be focusing on. But I totally understand what you're saying. Yeah. I love it. Thank you so much for a great point that you mentioned. So where did we leave off before I so rudely interrupted you? Well, I was on about the harmonic convergence and the this wave of change, which really has been for the last 20 years, and has been driven by, I think, a lot of people from the sort of the younger people that came from the sort of 60s generation, if you like, who and I think a lot of that was coming out of California. This sense of somehow we need to do it differently. What we've been trying to do is not working. We need to somehow, it needs to be all sort of thrown in the air, but it needs to be coming from a place within. It needs to be about. There's no good, and politicians are often caught out like this. Saying one thing and actually in your life living something very, very differently. And I think this shift that we're going through at the moment, a lot of my work at the moment is around the new earth, and this, what I feel is this new humanity which is appearing. I must confess there are sometimes when I watch the news and I think, gosh, I don't know how this is going to happen, because it seems so chaotic and so there's so much destruction and there's so much old energy, if you like, trying to somehow keep everyone back, and all these beheadings and just terrible things happening. So there are sometimes when I doubt even my own knowing, if you like. I think, can I really go out in the world and say this when, but that's what my knowing says, that something remarkable is taking place at this time, and we're all a part of it, and we're changing the world one day at a time in our small ways through our lives, but all that in some way is all adding up and creating something that we're not quite there yet. It's not quite materialized, but some new humanity is being born.
Yeah, you're speaking of shifting, and I want to throw in my 2 cents. Is an example that I use a lot is when Earth was formed, it went through a lot of different stages, and billions of years, 7 billion years, and frozen over, volcanic, plants, animals being extinct. So it's the world is always, humanity is always in a shift. It's always evolving. I can't even try to get my little pea brain wrapped around how it's looking, how fast. But over billions and billions, we were always going to be changing, and it's never going to be over. I look at humanity. I look at us and think that we're prehistoric, quite frankly, because we're going to get to a point where it's going to be about energy, and words are not even, for me, this is what I feel, words are not even going to be enough to communicate. We're in a prehistoric era talking as opposed to feeling and being the energetic beings that we truly are.
Absolutely. Well, part of my work is encouraging, and it's been my own journey, my own process of encouraging that we're very ancient beings, extremely ancient beings, and what we see in terms of our physical form is only a small fraction, a fragment of this big being, if you like.
That's right.
And part of this change is the more we allow, grow, give space to that wider part of our being and that wider part of our knowing to just be a part of our life and part of our decision-making process and part of our journey. That's what we're here to do. We're here to be big. We're not here to be small. It doesn't mean we all have to be, President Obama or something. We're not here to do, to do monumental things like that. Just doing what we're doing in our lives is enough for that process. But nonetheless, we are here. It's like a spiritual outing. It's like these vast beings who are all, we're all original. We're crazy. We're different, and we're strange, and all of that. Instead of trying to fit into the world and going, okay, I'm really, I'm really small, and I'm going to try and squeeze in, and nobody notice I'm here, and and then I'll die an unsatisfied life. is actually saying, actually, I'm just going to be big and as vast as I am, and the world will have to fit into me. The world will have to accommodate me rather than the other way around. Yeah, so I don't need to squeeze in anymore and hide. I'm just going to be big, and the world will find a way of accommodating me. And I mean, that's what a lot of my sort of crystal work is about. And it might seem that crystals are a very odd way of bringing that about, but it's the way that works for me.
Well, you're talking about, you use the word big, and I love to say be yourself. Just be who you are. Yeah. Find out, really look in the mirror, figure it out, unlearn everything you learned about, well, let me speak for myself. I had to unlearn everything I thought I was, who I thought I was, including the name, and just be myself and just expand and evolve and be more of me, who that person was when I was born, 6 months, 1-year-old, 2-year-old, before I learned all of this stuff, all of this extra baggage. It's just coming back to knowing who you are and being okay with who you are and being totally accept all of it, accept all of you. We're saying the same thing, just in a different way.
Absolutely, and there's many authors and presenters and teachers saying the same thing, but it's all about being vast and being original and actually saying, I don't need to fit in. And I think one of the great things about this time is, we have the technology to make that happen. If you look at some of the music stars around the moment, like Lady Gaga, for example, and Rihanna, and these, people who some years ago probably wouldn't have fitted in to the music industry, and they've excelled in being odd and in being individual and being unique and encouraging others to be. And we live in times where there are people who are encouraging the process. And,
you know what?
Of course,
that's a great point, and it is about uniqueness. It is about individuality, and we've had a lot of trailblazers before Gaga, Elton John, Liberace, Elvis, a lot of trailblazers, and that's not only musicians; it's just writers. It really is about being different and being. It's really about being yourself and being unique. I thank you for that. Let's get to your crystals and and how, because I had one crystal healing, or one crystal experience, I should say, which was last year, and I don't know what the hell happened to me, but I'll tell you, I left this planet. I was in another world, and it was a woman in Missouri. I was on a women's retreat at Heart Haven, Missouri, and I was the guest speaker. And she was a crystal healer, and it was an hour session. She was sat at my feet and put crystals at different points in my body throughout the hour, one at a time. And I'll tell you, Michael, that I did not know. I woke up, I felt like I had been drugged. It was the coolest, it was the biggest high that I've ever experienced without, getting high.
Of course,
and it was amazing. Share with us I know it's a vast subject, but how do crystals work?
As you say, it's a vast subject, and it depends which angle you come from. The way it works for me, which is
for
all
you,
I can talk about with any authority, really, is that essentially we have a sort of a crystalline matrix ourselves. We have a certain sort of resonance with crystals, a certain familiarity. And their energy, which they're transmitting, if you like, enlivens us, awakens us, energizes us, connects with us. There's a certain energetic sort of resonance between us and crystals. I must say that doesn't happen for everyone. I've met people who crystals just leave them completely stone cold and don't touch them, don't reach them at all. And there's no judgment about that. It's just some people really connect to them and some people don't. So for me, I remember the first time, this was about the time I was in this turn when I was about 18, where I was moving away and being disconnected from politics, that somebody gave me a crystal, and that was my first experience of one. And all I remember, and I've still got that one particular crystal, I remember holding it, and there was a sense of connectedness, a sense of familiarity to the crystal that I couldn't quite get my head around. I knew nothing about crystals whatsoever, nothing about the science, nothing about mineralogy. Often people think I'm a mineralogist or, I've got some scientific background, but I have not. Everything I've learned through my own intuition and my own inner guidance. It's not come about from any textbook or anything. And I had...
Hey, hold on a second, because that's a really, really, really important point. And I just want to put an explanation point behind it. You get your learning from your inner guidance, because it's, for me, it's, yes, of course, there have been a lot of books, Ernest Holmes, Abraham, a lot of books, but there is, for me, the final guidance is that inner guidance. And we all have it. All it is just practicing getting in tune to it and then asking, hey, guide me, help me, direct me. I'm open. I surrender to it. So I love that you said that you were guided internally. I just have to stress that. It's really important.
Yeah. Well, I think the art of that is to take the guidance seriously. I mean, there's no other way, really, until we sort of put our life in the hands of that guidance. And it's not a guidance I would like to define, because I find that's very dangerous, because the whole religions have been built on that very same idea. So I think it's unique to everyone. It comes to everyone uniquely, and it's an inner knowing, it's an inner voice. And I can honestly say that inner knowingness has saved my life, has saved my sanity, has guided, helped me navigate through, a very unusual life and a very unusual series of decisions I've made in my life that nobody, I would seek other people's advice on certain things, but I would always, if that inner voice said something completely different, I would have to, and I did. Around about 20, I had been working with a normal sort of 3D job, and this inner voice came through really loud and clear to give it all up, to walk away, and that something else would happen. And I did. And every voice around me, in the whole environment, everyone around was like, you shouldn't do this, you're, what are you going to do? The usual things. I did not have one supportive voice. And it was that, but I did. I leapt. That was like probably the biggest leap I took in my life. And I took it, and nothing happened. It was a really testing time. I really thought, okay, I'll leap, and the next step will be there. And it didn't. It just went quiet. My inner voice went quiet.
So now you're touching on something else, which is really, really important. You're talking about trust. And you're talking about trusting that inner voice and trusting, I use the term universe, trusting the universe and surrendering. And another thing is, it's not looking at the world or not looking at your circumstances with these eyes, because eyes can be these eyes are very deceiving. And the feel is it's just trusting and surrendering. It's really walking off the cliff and knowing that you're going to be caught, regardless of what it looks like, regardless of what it feels like. That's really important. Yeah. Michael, we have a caller. We actually have a few callers, but I want to go to my caller because they've been waiting for a while. Hold on just a second. Okay. You're at area code 360. What is your first name? Welcome to Reality Spirituality. Hello? Hello? Area code 360, are you there? Going once, going twice. going 3 times. Well, maybe it had to go to the bathroom or something. Who knows? We'll go back to them. But let's get back to let's dive into it, because your story is fascinating. You're fascinating, as we all are. And let's get to somebody gave you a crystal, and then where did these crystals or your interest, where did that take you? What does it look like now for you? What has evolved?
Well, that was 25 years ago.
Yikes.
And so I've somehow within all of that I've evolved into a writer, into somebody who deals with crystals and minerals and puts together for people very large collections. And my life for the last 25 years has been deeply involved with crystals. If anyone had told me at the time, I wouldn't have believed them, because I didn't know even what a crystal was. And yet there was a sense of familiarity and connection, and a feeling that somehow this was, I didn't know where, but I had a feeling that this crystal was where I was going, although it seemed completely insane at the time. So I didn't tell many people that, because I was quite aware how it would sound. But I was quite aware that I was about to take a leap where my inner guidance would be my career, if you like, would be my, the focus of my life. And it's never let me down. In 25 years, it's just taken me from strength to strength. And now when I look, I've actually, there's 4 books I've written, and card sets and CDs, and I've got this amazing crystal company, and I live a very good life. And if I had stayed where I was and not taken that leap, it's a bit one that, like, do you know the film Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow?
Yes.
Where she makes a decision and doesn't do something, and time changes. I often think it's like that. If I hadn't made that leap, I don't know where. I feel that my life would have been okay, and but there would have been a sense of dissatisfaction would have somehow permeated my life, and my life now, over the last 25 years, the life I've lived, which has been deeply guided by my inner knowing, has been a wonderful, mystical, wonderful experience. I don't regret a moment of it.
Right. Well, let me say this is another thing I always talk about, is that there is a plan that I have no control over, but the universe is the greatest plan maker, if you will, and a destiny, a fate, whatever you want to call it. You can't speed it up. You can't make it happen. You can't not make it happen. You can't slow it down. And I'm on that path, and I'm actually along for the ride. So your journey was in perfect timing. Everything is falling into place perfectly. What's going to happen tomorrow is going to be perfect too. So if I'm let's say this. Let's see. If I'm a person that, I have marital problems, I have physical problems, I'm stressed, I'm there's something wrong with the world, there's something wrong with me. I come to you. What do you do? What is the first thing you do when someone comes to you? What are your common questions? What are your common issues that people find you and they want to know?
Well, obviously those questions have changed over 25 years. There was a phase some years ago where everyone wanted to meet their soulmate and their twin flame, and and everyone's out of that stage now. So
thank goodness, because your soulmate is the universe. But keep going.
Well, I mean, obviously, the state of people's questions change. I would probably say the one that most people are interested in is about how can they live a prosperous life and still live their dream. That's probably the one.
Okay, so are you saying that, because this is really fascinating, so you're saying the people are asking about money, about how to make money, how to live their passion?
Yeah, I think it's in this day and age. I mean, there are people figuring out how to live their dream without money. I'm not saying you have to have money at all. Right. I think what's happening is people are realizing that they are here for something, and how do they make that happen? How do they know what it is? How do they follow it? And where will it lead them? And in the meantime, who's going to pay their mortgage? How are they going to feed their family, for example? And I'm not saying I have the answer to that at all, but that seems that's a theme that's actually been around for 25 years in my short time, has been how. Because I think for myself, I attempt to live my dream, to live what my being guides this dream that I've sort of come here to materialize and to live. My being sort of keeps me on track with that. So I'm guessing people are drawn to me because maybe I've got something to say about that. But I've known people who've done things like going, yeah, this is what I want to do, and I want to be a healer, I want to do this, and give up on their job, and then it's all gone flat, and it hasn't worked out, and their dream has turned into a nightmare sometimes. Some people have gone to real pickles where they've created chaos in their life as well. So I think it's let
me talk about that for a second, because I believe that the plan has been set even before I got here. There were things I signed off on to experience, and it's about experiencing everything I signed off on, and to be okay with it, and to know that this journey is wherever I am, wherever I find myself, is where I'm supposed to be.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
So people that come to you, what do you do? What is the first thing that you do? Okay, here I am, I'm Rebecca. Michael, help!
Okay. So I would. Well, it depends obviously what the cry for help is about.
Okay.
But if it was say I want to do something, and I don't, I'm stuck in I'm a lawyer and I'm stuck in a job I don't want to do, and I'm loathing my days and I'm not enjoying myself. I'm not happy. So if Rebecca came to me with that, and I would, obviously if that's it's a long process, and I wouldn't ask somebody to give up their, or even encourage somebody to give up their work, for their dream. But what I always encourage people to do is to figure out. Who am I? What have I always wanted to do? Or what have I feel really drawn? Not because my parents have told me I need to do that. And the first process I would say is like an unraveling, like unraveling a ball of wool or string, and then just looking at the knots and looking at how did I get here? What decisions did I make? And how, in a very small way, can I start moving in the direction I want to go? Sometimes that can be a great big leap. That can be giving up everything but that takes a lot of, at different ages, that can take a lot of courage. I mean, I did that when I was 20, and I had no mortgage. I had nothing. I had nothing to lose. Therefore, whatever I gave up was okay. Somebody doing that at 50 years old, who's got a mortgage, who's got children, got cats and dogs, and all, that's a harder decision to take. So depending on a person's situation, I would say that just need to take small steps, like say, for example, somebody wanted to be a crystal healer, for example. I would say, okay, let's start doing some training, sign up for some courses, learn from people you admire, travel to see them, learn how other people have done what you want to do, sit at their feet and take it in, and don't copy them. You're not here to, you're here to be original, but actually learn from other people and you'll take it all in, and through that you're making like an amalgamation of ideas, and some of those ideas are going to fall away, but some of them are going to be really good and going to serve you really well. But get to know.
Okay, let me cut in a little bit, because you're talking about another important topic. But one of the things that I do on my show, and what I talk about, is this feeling of wanting, this feeling of being. You used the word earlier about being dissatisfied. All of that, those emotions, and that is really an energy. It's an energy of dissatisfaction. And regardless of where you are, if you look at your life and you have that feeling of dissatisfaction, you can do something right in the moment, and that is changing your perspective. If you're not feeling good about your life, your perspective can change in an instant. In other words, seeing what's wrong, and I'm not at a job that I hate. Well, look at that job, and everything that you said, of course, look into things that are more interesting and you're more passionate about, but also in the instant, changing your perspective, which will automatically change your energy. And that is, there are 360, I use 360 because it's a complete circle. There are 360 ways to think about the same situation. An example that I like to say is, one woman called my show and she was complaining about the drive to her job. She had her dream job, but it was an hour and a half away. And I said, and she kept complaining about the distance, and she was going to quit the job even though she loved it because of the hour and a half. I said, well, is there another way you can look at the same situation and find something good about it? Find something that you can be thankful for, and just practicing looking at things with a different perspective. And she came up with, yes, I can contact people that I haven't talked to in years. I can meditate, and you can share changing your perspective with other people. I was taught to just have one way to look at everything, and if you really want this feeling of this internal knowing that everything is in perfect order, it's all about changing your perspective. And that's one of our things that I have control over, changing perspective. What do you think about them apples, Michael?
Well, I think you're completely right, that actually attitude is everything. Yeah. And with the right attitude, we can be in situations we don't like or not enjoying, but with the right attitude, we can whistle our way through any situation, really. And yes. And the difficulty with that point is, that sometimes there are people in very difficult, challenging situations, and I've met people who, have sort of gone, well, it's all right for you to say that, and I'm in, very difficult circumstances. And,
health issues, financial issues, yes, health issues, death in the family,
say somebody was in an abusive relationship, for example, and somebody comes along and says, oh, it's just your attitude. For some people that's not helpful. Right. It can be deeper and more complex than that. And there are people, and I really love, the Abraham Hicks work. But I find sometimes the language we have to use with a certain mindfulness, that for some people that language is disorientating, because it's, they might hear that and think, well, I'm being beaten by my husband, and how have I created this, and how we're in really interesting times that we're able to reevaluate language and how to look at situations. And at the same time, I always think we have the responsibility to put it in a way that is really helpful for people who are really in very difficult circumstances as well. I totally understand what you're saying. I've actually had people calling in with, from being beaten, child abuse, all of that. And the bottom line is, there is a reason for all of it. There is a greater reason for all of it. And yes, it's very difficult to switch a perspective when you're in the middle of it, when you're in the middle of a storm. However, there are lessons, and then not only are there lessons,
I remember a woman who actually she's a channeler for John Christian, and she was beaten as a child, and she talks about this horrific childhood, and then again in the same thing, I would not be who I am if I didn't experience that. And then you can share that with others. You can share that experience. So it's I get it, and there are lessons, and there's a reason for all of it. It's just big. It's a huge school of learning, and yes, it is hard to hear, but it's the truth. It's the truth.
Yeah. I think we're still at the very early stages of exploring consciousness, and it's an unfolding process and a wonderful, mysterious process, and is so unique for everyone. Not one thing works the same way for everyone.
That's right.
And this, for me, is sort of coming back to crystals and my crystal work. This, for me, is where crystals really come in very strongly, and a lot of my work is about, I work with people who are not face-to-face anymore. Most of it is done through my website or through Skype meetings or whatever, of actually people who are on a consciousness journey and work with crystals as sort of guideposts, if you like, as accompaniments on their journey.
So let's get specific. What do you do? So a person comes in and say they are suffering with physical abuse. What is the first thing that you do?
Well, if I'm honest, I probably wouldn't have that conversation with somebody. I doubt very much somebody. I've never had that. No, and people don't normally come to me traumatized or in those situations. And if they did, I would probably say this isn't the right time for us to work together, because you need to get out of your situation, and no crystal is going to help with that. You need to start on the ground first. You need to get out of your situation. You need to get the law sorted out where you are, and there are people who are more skilled than I am with that. So I love that.
Okay, so give me an example. Don't say, of course, you don't say who it is, but give me an example of a client that you have, or somebody that's come to you, and specifically, what do you do?
Okay,
like a real life example of somebody's come to you. I don't know, in the last month or 2 months, and what do you do? What do you do?
Okay. What do I do? Okay. Well, I'm very obviously protective about the people I work with. So I over the 25 years have built up a lot of people who work with crystals. They're not in contact with me all the time. Sometimes they come in every few months. Sometimes people come back once a year. Sometimes on a weekly basis. But they're people who have already an attraction towards crystals. They have an affinity with them. So they don't normally come to me traumatized, leaving a marriage or needing to decide where they're going. I don't normally come in at that level. Only because they're not my skills, and I would always say to a person, a crystal is not going to help you leave your husband. Or So somebody comes to you, and you're saying that they're not. Yeah, they've already got a familiarity. They've probably already got crystals themselves.
Oh, okay.
And, they're looking to sort of take their crystal interest up to another level.
Okay.
So that can be that they're looking to expand the collection of pieces they have.
And how do you help them expand their pieces? How do you? In other words, it's sounding like you're an educator, that you are. You have all of this background, and you have all of this knowledge. So you're actually assisting people with educating them with crystals, and even getting them to another level. Is that what I'm feeling or hearing?
Yeah. And people are familiar with that process already. People don't come to me who can't speak that sort of language. They would normally come to me and say, I've got a lot of crystals already, and I'm drawn to this, and I'm drawn to that, and then I always guide them to my website first of all, and I say, go through this, and then come back to me with your ideas of your budget first of all, and give me I don't know you, so the way I'm going to get to know you is by you giving me some feedback of the pieces you're drawn to, the sort of thing you need to give me some guide. I don't normally do like a cold guidance, if you like.
Okay. I
would
understand.
never say to somebody, you need this or anything like that. I say, okay, you tell me first of all. And then my work is people come to me I get an email and saying, there's maybe 10 things they like or a little story of what they like. And then my work is to get a feeling and sort of bring those 10 pieces down and down and down, and so we get more of an idea of where that person's heading and where they're going. And so it's like building a crystalline picture of that person's requirements. But I'm always, I take great responsibility with that people must start that process themselves. I'm not going to just out of the blue say you need this and you need that. I wouldn't put myself in that position. I find it quite a dangerous position to be in.
Okay, good. Okay, so now I get a better sense. So I have let me go back to this because I have a few callers, but not everybody wants to say hello. Hold on just a second, Michael. You're live on Reality Spirituality, area code 6360. What is your first name? Hello? Okay, that's her. 1 strike, 2 strike, and I'm giving him a 3rd strike. So one of the things when I experienced this crystal healing, or I don't even want to say healing, the experience with these crystals, and she would place, what she was saying is that the crystals were calling to her. She intuitively knew which crystals to place where close to my body or on my body. Yeah. And that was really fascinating. And one of the things I have this stone that I wear all the time, and she put it in her hand, and I don't even want to use cleansed it or cleaned it or opened it up or just cleared it. Do you do that kind of? If someone says, "Are my crystals clear?" I'm just guessing here. Do you do that also, or is that part of your work?
Well, I teach and have been teaching for 20 years, 2-year crystal healing diploma programs. And part of that program is there are quite basic techniques of cleaning and cleansing crystals. I wouldn't myself, if somebody came to me and said, can you clean this for me, I would show them how to clean it. So my work is often just, people come to me as something, my work is often to put it back in their own hands and empower them, say, okay, I don't want to set myself up as some mystical crystal master. It's pretty simple, and let me show you how to do it so that you can do it for yourself or other people.
I love that.
There are techniques, yes.
Now, you talked about, before the show went on, you were talking about your cards, because we're coming to the end of the hour. So the cards that I didn't receive yet, which is okay, what are those cards and what are they for?
Okay, the cards I'm most famous for, which are sort of published around the world, they came out in 2011, are the Crystal Oversoul Attunements, which are a series of 44 crystalline mandalas. And then last year I had a book come out called Unfolding Our Light, which was an exploration of the sort of current times that we're in and how we can thrive in these times. And then the new card and book and CD set that's just come out is called Crystal Oversoul New Earth Attunements, which is 22 crystalline mandalas, a book, and 2 CDs. With the 2 CDs, they have 22 meditations on, with me guiding through a series of meditations. And all that work is around using crystals as archetypes, working with crystals as a way of exploring our own inner consciousness by using the cards as meditational tools. We might choose a card, and then when you read in the book, it will give you some guidance as to maybe why you're drawn to that particular card, and to use that information to take it seriously and to just ponder, meditate, ritualize, whichever way works for you, the information about that card.
Okay, well, this has been a fascinating, and the hour just went by really quickly. You are very interesting. I love that you shared with my audience what you do and the importance of crystals, and I love that you said the people that come to you, it's like, yeah, people that come to you, people that listen to the show, people that are attracted to whoever and for whatever happen with that internal guide already. So you talked about it earlier in the show about listening to your guide, and people are drawn to you and do come to you that are guided to come to you. I love that. Can you please give my audience your website and how they can contact you and all of your information, Michael?
Yeah. Okay. My website is Aristia, which is ARISTIA. And if you just put in aristia.com or aristia.co.uk, I'll pop up because there's not many companies called Aristia. And that has all my crystals on, my cards and books. I'm guessing, obviously, depending where you are, support your local New Age store. And if you go in and ask for any books or cards by Michael Eastwood, then I'm sure they've either got them or they can order them for you. And my books are called Crystal Over Soul Attunements, then the next one, Unfolding Our Light, and then the newest one, Crystal Over Soul New Earth Attunements, and they're all published by Findhorn Press. But yeah, if you've got a local New Age health store, then go in and see if they'll either stock them or they can get them for you. And have Facebook, Twitter. Twitter is Michael Oversoul, and I have a Pinterest page, Michael Eastwood, and my Facebook page is, I need to get it up because it's quite long.
And your website is?
Yeah, Aristia, ARISTIA.
Yeah, I'm glad you spelled that. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and my Facebook page is Michael Eastwood, Crystal Healing Author.
Perfect. Wow, what a great show. Thank you again, Michael, for being here. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and sharing and being a part of this conscious shift and being a part of this world where we are. Listen, we're all in it. We're all in it. We're like he said earlier. We're unique. We are here to be who we are and loving it and be different and just get out there and accept and love who you are and who knows where this journey is going to take us. But I really appreciate you sharing all of that with us, Michael. Thank you so much for being on Reality Spirituality.
Interesting questions.
Yes. So, everyone, thank you again. And, again, Reality Spirituality is heard every Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you're interested in any of the coaching programs I offer, you can visit my website at RebeccaNorrington.com and go to the private sessions tab. Follow me on Twitter at RLNorrington. And if you've enjoyed the show, which I know that you have, go to Reality Spirituality on Facebook and like the Facebook page. So until tomorrow, my dear audience, I want you to remember who you are. You are a physical extension of the universe. You're always growing. You're always changing. You're always evolving. Love is patient and love is kind. Be patient and be kind to yourself. Be your own best friend. Remember, you cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. So until tomorrow, you've been listening to Reality Spirituality. Thanks again. Talk to you tomorrow. Tomorrow's show is going to be Ask Rebecca Anything, and you can call in live and ask your question. Thank you so much for being here. You've been listening to Reality Spirituality.
Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's the new experience. Reality, spirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one, man. Spirituality. You got a question for RLN? Reality, spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Reality, spirituality. Oh, now we get real. Get real.